there, everybody. Welcome to First Glance with Jody Vance. Excited about this episode because it's revisiting a conversation that we have had just 6 or 7 weeks ago at time of taping. We had Deborah Rathjen, the CEO of Bioasis Technology. You may remember that conversation. It was talking about the blood-brain barrier and really exciting technologies that might just see some significant scientific impact on some of the most difficult diseases, brain diseases, and otherwise degenerative brain diseases in particular, such as MS and Alzheimer's, things that make headlines a lot, people trying to find a way to help those being diagnosed with these diseases and syndromes. And the company behind this particular conversation is Bioasis Technologies. It is BTI.V. So basically, what we're doing today is making sure that everybody has an opportunity to learn about this company, as we do here on First Glance with Jody Vance. It's not just about insiders, people in markets and what have you, getting the newsletters. So here is a cup of coffee, if you will, with Dr. Mario Saltarelli, who is involved with Bioasis Technology. Thanks for doing this, Doctor.
Hi, Jody. Pleasure to do it, and very nice to meet you.
So give us the science perspective. I mean, over the last 18 months, we've all become somewhat more engaged with how our body functions and how we fight viruses or bacterial infections or even diseases. I mean, we're all starting to learn the language a little bit more. You are certainly more than qualified to share what you know on this particular subject. Your bio is about as long as my arm. You are the independent director here at this particular company. First, start with what is your role with Bioasis Tech?
Right. So I'm an independent director, and I work with the management team as well as my board members to set and help support the overall scientific strategy. As a basis for my expertise, it's worth mentioning that I've been doing drug development for almost 25 years now, and my training is in brain diseases. So I'm trained as a neurologist, but also as a neuropharmacologist, which is really a field of study that looks at the way in which you can develop therapeutics for brain diseases. And so I've done a lot of time thinking about this area, and that's why I decided to join the board of Bioasis a few years ago, was because the platform itself and the ability to deliver drugs across this entity that we call the blood-brain barrier is really a major opportunity to be able to develop therapies for brain diseases.
And the therapeutics for rare autoimmune diseases. I mean, this is your wheelhouse. This is an incredible science that a breakthrough like being able to get past that blood-brain barrier is so massive. Give just a little synopsis, if you will, with regard, let's use MS because it is a newsy part right now of the mission that you're on, if that's okay to say, to find a way to really impact what is such an incredibly invasive degenerative brain disease. What are we learning in terms of the blood-brain barrier and MS where Bioasis is concerned?
Sure. So just to tell you a little bit about the blood-brain barrier. So it's a series of structures that really protect the brain from toxic things like cells, like proteins, like toxins, like other chemicals that have no business being within the brain. Yeah. So it protects, but it also limits the access to a large number of potential therapeutics. So as you know, most of our drug activity and drug armamentarium is really what are called small little chemical molecules. And we have a number of those that work. Some get into the brain, some don't. If they don't get into the brain, they can't really work on brain-specific types of disease processes. During the last, I would say, multiple decades, we've entered the so-called biological age and the genetic age. And what this really means is that we now can actually use very, very large protein molecules and genetic types of things called oligonucleotides to be able to treat very specifically and in novel ways diseases of the brain. a lot of the diseases of the brain are inflammatory diseases.
Right.
So there's things like multiple sclerosis, which we've all heard of, which is almost considered to be the prototypic inflammatory disease of the brain. Major problem, a lot of people have it. It's severely debilitating. There are a number of therapies that are available, but the reality is there's still a need for new therapeutics. And so the Bioasis approach for both MS, but also brain inflammatory diseases, is to be able to use our proprietary platform, which is the basis for the company. We can call that by its technical name XB3, to be able to shuttle or transport these big molecules from the bloodstream across into the brain so that they could actually be active. That's kind of the basis for the company, the technology. Without the technology, these big molecules like proteins, antibodies, and oligonucleotides cannot enter the brain, and therefore they can't be of any use.
So this is a huge breakthrough if put into practice. The study's ongoing, but you have had some positive results quite recently, I understand.
Well, as you probably have heard, Jody, the drug development process is one that is very long and difficult. We're at the earliest stages right now with a novel construct or therapeutic that has a potential to be able to treat neuroinflammatory or neuroinflammation diseases like multiple sclerosis. We're in the early stages, we're in animal testing, but we've achieved what could be considered to be a proof of concept, at least in animals, that our platform and the construct that we have works and could work in these diseases.
This is a nice,
still early days.
Still early days, but this is a nice opportunity for me to reiterate what the company stock symbol is, and that is BTI.V. Oftentimes within these conversations, I forget myself, and I get so interested in the subject matter that I forget to tell the viewer the company that we're talking about. We're talking about Bioasis Technologies. BTI.V is how you look them up, the stock symbol. I want to know now, you're talking about those early trials and animal trials and seeing some successes. There is reason for hope here. And for many people who have been dealing with MS in particular, which is what we were just speaking of in the most recent early days studies, but also people that have epilepsy or Alzheimer's, impacting just hundreds of millions of people. And one breakthrough here, doctor, if I'm reading you right, could lead to a domino effect that does take us into sort of the next era of medicine.
I think in many ways I would share your enthusiasm, and we definitively are moving in that direction. So the data that we generated in a classic model of multiple sclerosis in animals is really a proof of concept not only for multiple sclerosis, but for these other diseases that you've mentioned. And so that would include epilepsy, it could include Alzheimer's, it could include other rarer, less understood or heard about neuroinflammatory diseases. These are all diseases that are quite severe and which there is really no available therapy available. And the reason for that is that there really have not been other drugs that can cross the blood-brain barrier that can actually affect them.
Which goes all the way circling back to the platform that is the basis of Bioasis Technologies. So let's talk about what some of the major features of the XB3 platform are.
Very good. So XB3 is a proprietary, what we call peptide protein, which actually binds to one part of the blood-brain barrier and then is shuttled across the blood-brain barrier into the brain. And so if you attach a therapeutic molecule, like we've done in this particular study, if you attach a therapeutic molecule, then that therapeutic molecule will also be shuttled across because it's very tightly bound.
Wow.
And so this allows us, as demonstrated in this study, to actually affect the disease process in this animal model, and is actually consistent with earlier work we did with this same construct. So the same molecule that is working in the MS model also worked in a model of what is called neuropathic pain, which means that that neuropathic pain actually has an inflammatory basis as well, which is not surprising. But as scientists and as drug developers, when we see converging evidence from two different types of models, both showing us that the platform works, that's very exciting. And it is actually very promising that it'll work even beyond those two models in other areas. And
Or Dr.
we view this as very positive data.
Very positive indeed. I just want to let people know Dr. Mario Saltarelli is with us from Bioasis Technologies. And while you have laid out all of what you just did, there's so much hope involved with that. Now, I think is a perfect opportunity to reiterate some of your personal experience within medicine. I could rattle these off. Chief Medical Officer at Untitled Therapeutics in Boston. You served as the Chief Medical Officer of, is it Syntimmune? Mid-stage biopharmaceutical company focused on the development of therapeutics for rare and autoimmune diseases. You earned your Bachelor of Science degree in psychology from the University of Illinois. You've doctorate degree, philosophy degree. You're not coming at this without having a firm understanding of the gravity of the words you're using and the hope attached to it.
Absolutely. I've had a long career, a variety of different companies, strong focus in the central nervous system areas of disease and neuroimmunology, which is where this particular asset is moving towards. And so I view these data, although I must say very preliminary and in animals.
Totally. I appreciate that.
As a great finding. And certainly the next stepping stone towards launching an internal clinical program, which we are actively pursuing at this point.
So can I ask you, Dr. Saltarelli, how you got involved with Bioasis Technologies in the first place as the independent director?
Yes, I was actually, had been aware of Bioasis for probably about 6 years before I joined the board as a result of some in-licensing activities. I've kind of followed them over the years. And then really on the basis of the original study in neuroinflammation using this XB3, what's called IL-1RA construct. It was actually, that was the basis of why I joined. So I actually joined specifically to help advance this program.
That's a perfect place to leave it. I hope we have an opportunity to speak again as you update us as these trials move forward and the hope continues. BTI.V is the stock symbol. Bioasis Technologies, Dr. Mario Saltarelli, thank you for your time.